Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is the Book Break. And today we have a real treat because we're going to learn about magical creatures from all over the world. And I'm going to bring Donna Jo Napoli, I think I said it right, in now. Did I say it right? Napoli.
Napoli.
Napoli. I knew I was close. Well, Donna Jo, tell us more about your Magical Tales book.
Okay, and thank you for having me. Um, this is a collection of stories from 29 countries. What pulls them together is that they all are dealing with magic, but the idea of what is magic varies a lot from one country to another. So some stories have witches, some have ogres, um, some have giants, some have fairies. Some don't have any of that. They just have people who look at the world in a different way, look at themselves in a different way. And I consider that magic in a sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that. And there are some really gorgeous images in this book too to help us understand and see the tales. And so we're going to show some of these images. And I would love if you would tell us a little bit about one of these stories. And so this one's the Dick Whittington's cat. The next image coming up, I believe, there we go, the frog who tried hard. Tell us about this story a little more.
This story is from Angola. And what I love about it is somebody falls in love with uh, the sky maiden. A person just falls in love with the sky maiden. He needs to let her know that he loves her. But here he is down on earth and he doesn't know how to get up there. And he asks different creatures if they will please get up there and deliver his missive. Well, nobody will do it, but a frog does. And he says, he doesn't even ask the frog, but the frog offers. And the the reaction is, you're just a frog. How can you possibly do this? And he says, I'll try hard. And he winds up being quite clever. When the water carriers come down from heaven to fill their buckets with water, he jumps into a bucket. Frogs are freshwater animals, and he gets carried up to heaven, and so he can leave the missive for the sky maiden, and he can then carry back a message in the same way. And he carries messages back and forth for a while, all because he can do it. And he manages to woo the sky maiden for this man. But when the sky maiden finds out who he is, she says, you've been doing all this? And he says, yeah. And she said, how on earth did you do it? And he said, well, I just tried hard. And she says, well, then you're the guy for me, not this guy that wouldn't do anything. So
Yeah.
why don't we get married? And they do.
That's a fun story. And you
Yeah.
have a lot of really fun stories in this book. How did you select which stories you were going to put in there?
Well, I wanted a lot of variety and I wanted to be global. I really wanted to be global. I think that thinking about your own country is very important. But if you don't think about the world as a unit, you don't find solutions for problems that work for everyone. And that's what we need at this point. So I wanted something very global. I wanted a variety of different types of magic. I wanted a kind of sensibility in the stories that was kind. Even though a lot of unkind things don't happen, there is a tremendous amount of forgiveness in these stories. At the end, when someone has been absolutely wretched towards someone else, there is not the need to destroy that person. There's
Yeah.
no hanging or burning or drowning or whatever. There is forgiveness.
Yeah.
People are resilient and they move on with their lives.
Yeah.
I love that. I believe in that.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important concept to teach children. I mean, terrible things happen sometimes, but forgiveness is so important and hope too to understand something bad might happen, but don't worry, that's not the end. I love that.
Yeah.
So
And
these are
destroying the source of that problem for you, as long as it's not going to be a source of a problem for someone else, destroying it is not the answer. Destruction
Yeah.
is hardly ever the answer.
Yeah. Well, and you've obviously read a lot, and I understand you started reading these things as a child. How did your reading as a child impact what you do today with your writing?
Totally. I remember learning about other countries from reading. I never traveled anywhere, visited anywhere. My family was Italian, but I didn't even really know what that meant. I didn't know anything about the country. And um, I books open the world for me. When I write stories, I very much am trying to give children something other than what they might get every day in their own lives. So I often write about other places, other times.
Yeah. And can you tell us what are some of the places, because you've got a lot of great stories. What are some of the places these stories come from?
Oh, I start in Italy because my grandmother used to tell me stories, and I adored her, and that was like an homage to her. But then I just bounce around the world. There are 29 countries here. I can start to name some of them. So we start with Italy, then England, Hungary, Morocco, Angola, Zimbabwe, Palestine, the Kurdish part of the Middle East, Turkey, the Jewish diaspora, Russia.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean, you
That's
just
so
keep
fun.
going. There's a lot from Africa, there's a lot from South America, from
Yeah.
indigenous people of North America.
Yeah, I love that too because not everyone has heard. I mean, I would say most of us haven't heard all of the, ancient tales or mythological stories from other countries, and this opens that up to us. I love that. What do you think makes a good ancient or mythological tale become a timeless story?
I think that the stories that hang on are the stories that deal with the things that we have to deal with, anyone, anywhere.
Yeah.
So like this thing that we have that carries us around, it's going to go away. We are mortal, and knowing that we are mortal um, raises the question of why live at all. That's an important question, and everybody has to face it. It's essentially what religion is about, I think. And then there's the question of how do we love people? How do we become loved? How do we live a decent life? How do we find happiness or peace or contentment, whatever it is we're searching for? Those are major important things. In these stories, in this particular book, sometimes people are after money, but they're largely after money because they need to eat, they need to feed their families, they need to have a home. And when someone is after money in order to just have riches, well, it doesn't bring them any kind of happiness. And sometimes then all those riches are taken away. So, yeah, I tried to aim for stories that dealt with what I think are questions that people benefit from dealing with. Makes your life richer if you thought about those issues.
Yeah, yeah. I think learning different stories really does help people to look at their own life, and if nothing else, it's fun. So we love
Right,
it.
right.
And the illustrator did a beautiful job, and National Geographic, they put together such an amazing book. So for our viewers out there, where can they find you and learn more about you, Donna Jo?
Well, I hope that you can find this book on in your favorite local bookstore. Please
Yes.
try, or go to your favorite online retailer. You can also go to National Geographic's website. You can go to my website, which is being shown on the screen right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our viewers. We'll see you next time.